Hello, Master. Here basically it is another topic city creation. City creation basically it is another topic that is vitamin creation. Vitamin creation basically we are discussing one other topic that is divorce. So one of the person to that basically you are not getting the job now basically that is also connected with the divorce basically. So one of the satellite person told that basically we will finish one state basically from India basically. After that basically the group basically who have planned this now basically they are going to get the lesson basically. So wait for that basically time basically when basically one state is going to disappear soon basically. That is 6 to 7 crore minimum basically. So one of the person told that in this basically you are not getting job now basically. In that basically the police department, high court, supreme court, all are basically involved. So let basically all also basically get one lesson basically. When one state is and in this basically big businessmen basically Tata Group, Ambani's, then basically the Brahma Kumari, these all are basically involved basically. So let they also basically get one lesson basically that never harass Sunil R. Nair in your entire life basically. So now basically we are discussing basically how basically the divorce is going to how basically the divorce topic is connected. See basically few more topics basically.
What is a time where you felt that you failed that you learned a valuable lesson from?
That's such a hard question. Getting divorced was a big lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
How come? What happened?
For a long time, like in your 20s and 30s, like getting married was a big goal, and I got married. And then I realized that that's not everything. And what I learned through being married was that knowing who you are, knowing your values, and knowing your non-negotiables is so much more important than anything else. It could be more important than the person that you love. And that was a huge lesson for me.
So do you think you didn't know yourself before getting married?
I think I didn't really know how important my values were to me before I got married.
What is true love like, in your opinion?
When I find out, I'll let you know.
Why did it not work, if you don't mind me asking?
Because I wanted to work so much that I was willing to overlook aspects of him and myself that didn't align with my true values. And that's why it didn't work.
What is a time where you felt that you failed?
So you can just imagine each and every way people's basically doing the giving the opinion basically. So this group basically all basically are involved in this. Sunil R. Nair basically is not getting job basically. So this all group basically must get one lesson basically. So that basically never harass Sunil R. Nair basically in their entire life basically. So they are going to get one lesson basically. When basically one of the state is going to disappear soon basically. See basically how that is going to happen basically. So now basically we are discussing again back basically to the topic basically that is design basically, and in design basically we are discussing how basically India is basically designing one of the topic that is how India land basically, how basically the India land looking like this basically, which is designing what basically, which is designing this basically, that is in galaxy basically. So one of the person told that yeah, that means basically in India basically this kind of people basically are there basically who can design the stuff basically. Then one of the person told that the king family with basically they basically their blood cells basically has created this education basically. This all education basically are created from their blood basically. For example, I will take one example. IITs basically are created, right? Basically, that is basically in this basically lots of books are basically there. So one of the person told that which king basically, from which king's blood cells basically, from which king's blood cells this, from which king's blood cells this IITs books are created. So you can just imagine basically it's very dangerous basically. So king's family basically are very dangerous basically. IIM also see basically. Then basically the MBA group basically. MBA group books. So this was actually very shocking thing basically. From which kings basically blood cells. And few people says that basically the king's blood cells basically are one of the part of blood group also basically. So one of the person told that yeah, the blood group owner basically where they stays basically. Few people says that basically they stay in king's palace. Few people says that basically they can't stay in the earth planet only basically. They basically stay in different island only. Few people says that basically they don't stay in earth planet only basically. They shift to the satellite. Few people says that basically they can't shift to the satellite also basically. They shift to some another galaxy only basically. Few people says that basically they are controlled by the different planets basically. So what is correct basically that we can't say basically. So it but 100% basically 22 blood group basically are not staying in the earth planet basically because it's very dangerous basically if they are staying here basically. Entire group basically if they are staying here basically that is dangerous for universe also basically. It's not basically so easy to handle the 22 blood groups owner. It's not easy basically. So one of the person told that basically if basically you can think Sunil up to this level basically then basically the universe group and the world creator basically might have thought this long before basically. Long before they might have thought basically. So you can't keep the entire blood groups people basically that are the owner basically in earth planet basically. That is not possible basically and that is not suggestible also basically. Because from the king's blood cells basically if IIT's groups IIT blood group is created then basically you can just imagine the king's group blood cells basically how powerful their blood cells basically are. So that's why basically you can't keep each and every blood group in blood group owners basically owner basically I'm telling you basically entire group basically I'm not telling basically the owners basically. For example A blood group basically have one owner basically. C blood group, D blood group, G blood group they have basically one owner and they basically can't stay in earth planet basically. Each people basically can't stay basically. Few people basically can stay with it but each blood group basically can't stay basically. If they are staying then basically this was the biggest mistake basically done by the earth planet created and that mistake basically is already done basically. Now you can't revert that basically. So you can't keep the each and every blood group basically owner basically in earth planet basically. Few people basically you have to shift to other planet, few people you have to shift to the other galaxy, few people you have to shift to the satellite and few people basically you have to keep to the earth planet also basically. Because why basically you have to keep to the earth planet? Because you should know that basically this type of thing basically is there. Otherwise basically after certain 100 200 year basically you will use self basically forgive that basically. You basically will not remember that basically this type of concept is also there basically. That is the blood group basically. So to remember basically you have to keep each and everything basically in earth planet basically. You have to keep basically. So you can just imagine basically the things basically which is done basically. So you can just imagine basically. It's not so easy to create the world also basically. To create one city also basically. So one of the person told that yes basically. You can't keep each and every blood cells group basically in earth planet basically. And mostly basically they might not have done basically because that is not possible basically that world creator will do this type of mistake basically. That is not possible basically. So this basically see basically the chaining basically blood cell groups data and then basically the birth process jodi basically. Birth process jodi basically that I have already taken the example. That is husband wife basically done the marriage and then basically they becomes the father and mother basically. So that is basically the birth process jodi basically. And to create one family basically that's very tough time basically, and that basically the responsibility the energy groups and the power company and the nuclear power company only can take them basically. If anything basically happens to their life basically then this group will be responsible basically for the entire life basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this blood cells groups and the